The afternoon sun burned down on the busy street where a small auto repair shop stood. A silver Mercedes-Benz was parked with its hood open, the engine smoking faintly. Around it, 3 mechanics in blue uniforms stood laughing loudly. At the edge of the group stood a man whose clothes were tattered, his beard scruffy, his skin darkened not just by the sun but by years of hardship. His eyes, however, told another story. Sharp, observant, full of something that didn't belong to the streets. He stepped closer, his voice hoarse but steady. "Can I fix it for food?" The mechanics turned to him and burst into cruel laughter. "You? Fix a Mercedes?" One of them jeered. "Look at you. You can't even fix your own life." Another added, "Go on, old man, this isn't your playground." The third mocked. The homeless man didn't flinch. He stood silently, his hands clasped together, eyes on the engine. One of the mechanics leaned in, smirking. "Tell you what, if you can fix this, I'll buy you a feast. But if you fail, you walk out of here and never come back." The group roared with laughter again, but before the man could answer, a woman's voice cut through the noise. "Leave him alone." A young woman in a beige blazer had been standing nearby, watching the scene unfold. Her name was Clara Bennett, a journalist known for her sharp instincts. She stepped forward, her eyes flashing with disapproval. "Is this how you treat someone asking for help? With mockery?" she demanded. The mechanics shifted uncomfortably but shrugged it off. "Lady, he's just a bum. Probably doesn't even know what a spark plug is." But Clara turned to the homeless man. "What's your name?" He hesitated. "David." "Well, David," she said gently, "if you want to try, go ahead. And don't worry, if they don't feed you, I will." For the first time in years, David felt a flicker of dignity return. He nodded silently and stepped toward the car. The mechanics exchanged mocking glances, arms crossed, ready to watch him fail. David leaned over the engine, his fingers brushing over the components with surprising familiarity. He inhaled deeply, listening to the faint clicking noise as the engine cooled. "Who worked on this last?" he asked suddenly. The head mechanic scoffed. "Why do you care?" David ignored him, muttering to himself. "Misfiring, bad timing, injector issue." His hands moved with precision, checking connections, hoses, and wiring. The laughter around him faded into silence as the mechanics realized his hands weren't fumbling. They were confident, skilled, expert. Clara watched closely, her journalist instincts flaring. This wasn't just some homeless man. There was something more. After just 15 minutes, David tightened the last bolt and stepped back. "Try it now." The mechanic rolled his eyes but turned the key. The Mercedes roared to life, smooth and steady, like a beast awakened. The laughter died completely. The shop went silent except for the purring engine. David wiped his hands on his ragged coat, his voice calm. "Engine runs better now than when you first bought it." The mechanics gaped. Clara's eyes widened. "Who was this man?" Years ago, before the streets became his home, David was not a beggar. He was not forgotten. He was David King, one of the greatest racing legends the country had ever seen. Born into poverty, he rose from fixing bikes in his neighborhood to dominating international racetracks. With lightning-fast reflexes and a fearless spirit, he became known as the Black Panther of the track. Crowds roared his name. Sponsors lined up. His photo was splashed across magazines, his trophies filling cabinets. He raced with fire in his heart and an unbreakable will. But fame is a double-edged sword. A horrific crash during a championship left him injured. He recovered physically but not emotionally. Betrayed by sponsors, abandoned by friends, and drowning in medical bills, he spiraled downward. Alcohol, depression, bankruptcy. One by one, everything slipped away, until all that was left was a man wandering the streets carrying nothing but memories of a past no one cared about anymore. David remembered the night he walked out of his last race. His team had told him he was too old, too broken, too slow. "The sport has moved on," they said. He had left the stadium that night with nothing but a jacket and a bag of clothes. Nobody stopped him. Nobody cared years past. He lived under bridges, begged for food, endured laughter and cruelty. But whenever he walked past a garage or heard the growl of an engine, something stirred inside him, a part of his soul that refused to die. He still had the knowledge, the instincts, the passion, but the world had forgotten his name, until today. The Mercedes purred flawlessly as the owner, a wealthy businessman, stepped out of the shop. He was stunned. "It runs better than ever." "Who fixed this?" The mechanic, humiliated, pointed reluctantly to David. He did. The businessman looked at David in disbelief. You, but how? David shrugged. Engines talk if you listen. I just listened. Clara stepped forward, her phone discreetly recording. David, she said, you're no ordinary man. Who are you really? David hesitated. For years he had hidden his name, ashamed of what he had lost. But now, with the engine humming like his old race cars, something inside him broke free. My name is David King, he said quietly. I used to be a racer. The mechanics laughed again, though less certain. Sure, and I'm the president, one muttered, but Clara froze. She had heard that name before. She pulled out her phone, searching quickly, and there it was. Images of a younger David standing on podiums, holding trophies, his smile radiant. She turned her screen to the group. He's telling the truth. He was a legend. The laughter died instantly. The mechanics looked at David with new eyes, not as a homeless beggar, but as a fallen star. Within days, Clara published the story, From Racing Legend to Homeless, the untold story of David King. The article exploded online. Fans who had once cheered his name shared it with disbelief. Racing forums buzzed with nostalgia. I remember him. He was the fastest on the track. How did we let this happen? Sponsors reached out. Old teammates apologized. Racing schools invited him to mentor young drivers. But David didn't crave fame anymore. He only wanted dignity, a chance to live like a human being again, not a shadow mocked on the streets. Clara met him one evening as he sat outside the shop where it all began. She smiled. You're a hero again, David. Maybe not the same kind of hero, but a hero. David looked at her, his eyes moist. Engines, they can be rebuilt. Maybe lives can too. Months later, David no longer walked the streets. He had a modest apartment, steady work as a consultant for a racing academy, and a purpose again. Young drivers hung on his every word, learning not just about engines and speed, but about humility, resilience, and second chances. The mechanics who once mocked him came to respect him, some even asking for forgiveness. David never held grudges. We all make mistakes, he told them. What matters is learning from them. And Clara, she remained his friend, his biggest supporter. Her story had not only restored his name, but reminded the world of a truth often forgotten. That greatness can be buried under dirt, mocked by ignorance and forgotten by time, but it never truly dies. Because legends, even when broken, still burn.